Welcome back. We are live again, and I'm very happy to introduce you an old friend of Adespresso, an old friend of Breadcrumbs, and founder of 3MG, Mr. Mike McFarland. Mike, the stage is all yours.
Awesome. Great to see you again, Max. Awesome to see all of you virtually here. Thank you very much for coming to my session today. My hot take or my session today is going to be about it's not about product led or sales led, it's both. And we're going to go through that. We're hearing a lot about product led growth, we're hearing a lot about sales led growth, and maybe historically heard a little bit more about that. I think it's somewhere in the middle. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. So, a little bit about myself, just so that folks know who I am. My name is Mike McFarlane. I am the founder of 3MG, Mike McFarlane Marketing Group. We're a small marketing MarTech agency based north of Toronto. Used to live downtown Toronto, now live out in the country north of Toronto. And I've been in the MarTech industry now for about 17 years. I actually started my career at Eloqua in 2006. I've worked on the agency side, I've worked on the product side. I've worked pretty much across the spectrum of customer success and product implementation and professional services, but all within the realm of MarTech and specifically marketing automation. So my agency helps folks who use tools like Marketo, like Pardot, like Breadcrumbs, use these tools effectively so that they can obviously maximize their investment that they've made in them and then maximize their marketing efforts as well. Little interesting fact about me, I worked on a lake cruise boat, Lake Ontario, back in my early 20s. And I also worked in a tinfoil factory. So don't let people tell you that dreams don't come true. It's pretty cool to see where my career has taken me over the years. So let's jump in though. Having been in the MarTech space for the last 15, 16, 17 years, I've had the opportunity to see how people buy software. And I think the way that I was introduced to it was typically you would go to someone's website, you would submit a contact us form, and then you start talking to a BDR or SDR, or you start talking to an account executive, and you go through a very typical kind of sales cycle. That is still very much in play today. Obviously, we still have sales teams that are working with potential buyers on buying what they need. But that's kind of where I saw things kind of start from my own career. And then you start to get into the PLG era where you have gated access to products or you have freemium version of products where you can use the product and you start to kind of add on or get access to different features as you start using the product. So very product driven, not necessarily having a salesperson kind of guiding you through that process or showcasing the functionality. A lot of that is up to the product to do, and then using the product as a way to build kind of a launch pad into getting more access to that product and becoming a customer of that product. We're also seeing a lot more community-based buying. And when I say community-based buying, I'm thinking about social media creators, referrals through review sites like G2, for example. We have kind of the customers who are coming out and either being evangelists for products or promoting products just based on their usage, and using your customer base, not using, that's kind of, I don't want to say you're using them, but encouraging your customer base to obviously talk about your product. So you got a lot of noise going on. You've got sales folks, you've got PLG, and you've got this creator economy, this creator community that's also out there trying to position products as well. So when I look at that, I kind of think that maybe the typical sales process is kind of dying a bit, or maybe the sales process that I knew was kind of is starting to die a little bit. You can't just rely on someone explicitly raising their hand now and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in talking more about this." It doesn't work that way anymore. A lot of people will sometimes make buying decisions before they even raise their hand, just based on the fact that they're going out and getting additional information on their own. And that information is so readily available. You have strong product adoption through kind of the PLG side of things, which can obviously lead to success. And then on the side of that as well, you can also have experienced support. Someone like myself, for example, can help guide you through buying software, can help guide you through leveraging software and how it works with other platforms and things like that. So I think at the end of the day, maybe a little selfishly, we're kind of there's a happy middle ground there. You don't necessarily want to be sold to. You don't necessarily want to rely on the product potentially guiding you through a sales process, but maybe you want to meet somewhere in the middle where you have someone who has experience with different types of tools, with different types of integrations, but also leveraging a strong product that can make it easy for that person to go through and use that tool, so that they don't have to go through a sales process. They don't have to go through potentially a long list of things that they have to kind of check boxes for from a feature and functionality standpoint before they move forward. You want to kind of land in that middle section where you have someone that's kind of guiding you through that process. So how does this work? How, like, in practice, does this make sense? Well, there's a few things that have to happen in order to kind of mesh the sales world and the PLG world together. You got to really understand your requirements, like really understand them. Going through and making an evaluation on a MarTech platform, making an evaluation on a campaign execution tool, before you even start going through and engaging in that sales process, take some time and sit down and figure out, what are you trying to solve for? What are you hoping that these tools can do? Because the better you can articulate that in a sales process, or the better you can articulate that as you're using a product, the more valuable that's going to be for you, because you're obviously making a stronger decision. Define 2 or 3 key scenarios you need to accommodate for. So what are you trying to solve for? What are you hoping that this tool is going to bring that is going to help solve for these problems, so that 6 months, 12 months down the line, you're not reevaluating and say, hey, this didn't actually meet our needs. We need to actually go and look again and look for the next piece of software, which is a really expensive process to go through. And lastly, it's always helpful to buy with experience in hand. And I always look back personally to someone like my dad. My dad's he was a real estate agent. He's retired now, but helping people make those decisions with quite possibly the biggest investment that they're making in their life, and what that means. And being someone who you trust, and being someone who you have confidence in, and knowing that this person has experience going through different scenarios, obviously makes it a lot easier for product adoption and making sure you're actually getting what you want. So the key takeaway with all this, you can't bake a cake without all the ingredients. And I like that phrase when I think about kind of what we talked about here today, which is, you want a little bit of everything in terms of how you're going through and buying. You want that community-based feedback. You want to engage potentially with social creators. You want to engage with sales teams, and you want to engage with those freemium style models, or those product-led growth models where you kind of dab your foot in. But when you bring all of this together and you're prepared and you have experience guiding you, it's really going to make the buying experience that much better for you, and hopefully a little bit cheaper for you as well. So to help with this, we 3MG created a document called Normalizing the Buying Process. It's ungated. You don't have to provide any contact for this. You simply go to 3mg.ca/offer, and we've got a 4-page document that goes through a lot of the questions you would typically ask, specifically when you're buying a marketing automation platform, or even other tech tools as well. There's a lot of common ground between a tool like Marketo and a tool like Path Factory, for example. You're still going to kind of look at the same things. So have a look at this. It's a really cool resource. It's a lot of it is based on questions that I ask vendors, or I assist customers with in asking vendors. And it's good things to know just for yourself, because it starts to plan out what's really important for you as a buyer in terms of what you're looking to do. So hopefully this is a really cool resource for you. Again, feel free to jump over to 3mg.ca/offer to give it a look. And that's pretty much my hot take for today. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Mike. And yes, if anyone has questions, please leave them in the chat. I've also pasted the link to Mike's offer in the chat if you want a quicker way to click it and get there. So let's see if we get any question. In the meanwhile,
Sure.
Mike, very curious. What do you think is the winning combination? Pure product-led growth or product-led sales? Something in the middle?
I personally, and I guess selfishly, find it's in the middle. I Especially since starting 3MG, like I've gone through the process of buying software. We use HubSpot here for our marketing automation platform and for our CRM. And for me, I think especially having knowledge in the marketing automation space, I know a lot of the things that I need and want based on my previous usage of the tool, but just knowing what I need as well. And that makes it a whole lot easier for me to talk to a sales rep in terms of understanding my basic needs and making sure that I'm not potentially paying more than what I need, or having a conversation 6 months down the line where I didn't actually get what I need and I need to make an additional investment at that point as well. That can certainly happen. It doesn't matter how you can be super prepared at the onset, but I think having that middle ground is really going to make the buying experience better for you and hopefully a little bit cheaper for you as well, because you know kind of what you're looking for.
Awesome. Question. What's the best buying experience you ever had? If someone wanted to see an example, sign up for something just to test the perfect buying experience for a SaaS product.
I'm not a big phone guy. That's just me.
Me too.
So the more I can do over chat, the more I can do over email, the more I can do even through self-service is awesome. When we bought HubSpot, we started with the very basic version, primarily to host our website. And that experience was super straightforward and easy, where you go online, you put your credit card in, and you're done. And now I've got a hub. I've got my website there. There's obviously a whole lot more that needs to get added in terms of just like the marketing automation side or the automation side of things, the reporting capabilities and stuff like that. But that was for me, a really simple process where I knew what I wanted at the onset. And then I knew down the line, if I needed to grow, I knew the capabilities were there and I knew what the cost was going to be to help accommodate for that.
Awesome. So Mike, looks like we don't have any other question. Thank you so much for joining us. Super interesting session. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Thank you. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.